Alrighty, this is my free 1998 John Deere Gator 4x2, and we're attempting to get her back in working order so I can put her back into service, running around the yard, hauling boats and moving compost and cutting up logs and other crap. And today we're going to be working on a couple of minor things. Since last episode, which was literally ended about 60 seconds ago, I have some updates I want to give. I fixed the parking brake. I realized that I had that guy in completely the wrong hole, and that was entirely my problem. So the parking brake now actually does something. So that's been fixed. And now that we've got the deck done, instead of doing it beforehand when I could have sealed things, we're going to attempt to repair these fenders, because I don't want mud getting thrown in the back of my head. So I actually have a practically unlimited supply of industrial sized tubs of Duke's mayonnaise. So I'm cutting one of those guys up into a mud flap repair. And so this is the shape I'm ending up with. And what I'm going to do is take that big old can of 3M industrial contact adhesive and just slap this right here, which should act as the second half of this mud flap. And then that bucket's going to get cut to match this here geometry, and it's going on the other side on the back, and then I'm cutting up that bucket to do the front. And then we're going to take the rest of these industrial sized tubs of mayonnaise, this time not Duke's, and we're going to cut two of those up and fix that guy. And I'm hoping what I can do is basically do kind of the same and just plop that right there and flip one around and stick it down there, and we can just rivet that guy in place. And hoping that should work perfectly, and it'll look horrible, but so does the rest of the thing, and I literally do not care. Well, I do care, because I wanted the new Duke's mayonnaise logo to be on the outside, but I had to cut up the Duke's mayonnaise logo, and that made me very sad. But yeah, I've already got this cut, already put some sandpaper to it, and already hammered that guy back up in here. And I'm just going to contact adhesive it and just slap her right up in here, right about there. And when that doesn't work, I'm just going to run some pop rivets through there. Don't really want to drill into there, because I just spent all that time, weatherproofing the deck. But this is on the outside, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll do if we need to. I'm not married to it either way, but we're going to attempt the contact adhesive first, which I don't have much faith in. But that should hopefully do something. Right about there. I think that right there. That's where she's going. Alright, well, there she is. That's certainly a look. Should at least keep most of the mud off the back of my, leg. Kind of. Maybe not really. We'll see what that does. If they fall off, I'm probably not going to fuck with anything more, or we'll pop rivet it. I don't know. I am going to have to take the Dremel in here a little bit, just to trim those up. Just a wee bit, so they don't bottom out on the tire, but that should be good to go. Oh, that contact adhesive is starting to pull off, but we'll put some jam a 2x4 or something on there for pressure. And we'll let that sit overnight, and we'll fiddle with fixing that fender tomorrow. That ought to help do something for now. Alright, well, there she is. She's dry, and she's, for the most part, hanging on. Good enough for now. Probably going to need to rivet that at some point, but we'll run them for a while and see how well they do. Then we'll scuff them up and spray them black, just so they don't stand out as much. And I need to do some trim work real quick with the angle grinder, just take that off, just because I don't like how close that is. That's like one little touch from that hitting there and just get thrown right off. So we'll fiddle with that, and might make that a little bit more aggressive all the way like that. We'll see. And yeah, that should for the most part be done. At the moment, I've got this other bucket, and I'm hoping I can cut that down there and then bend along that line, cut this whole lip off the edge, and then cut her like that, and then just kind of pop rivet her up into place like this for the most part, and then spray paint it black. And then I've got some other pieces from when I was cutting those up that I think I can sister in down there and get that going good enough. Additionally, I've got headlights, and I'm going to work on fixing that headlight, putting in some LED headlights. And I'm also going to work on getting some plastic stuff over the top of here to make that translucent to not blind me. So I'm fiddling around with all that right now. And give you some updates on it as I get progress done. Alrighty, well, those have been painted, and I had just enough industrial contact adhesive to stick that on there, but not enough to stick that on there, so I had to use some Elmer's, and that shit is desperately trying to come unstuck, and it will come unstuck, so I'm gonna have to buy some more of that, or just fucking rivet it, or not care, I'll duct tape it or something. But this guy's on here, and I just kind of scratched, you know, a lightning bolt over there and a lock on that side, so as you can see, lights up. And that one's not that bright, but doesn't need to be that bright. I can just look down here and see it, and that should be good for night. All I want to do is have it not have the light bulbs exposed to the elements, and 2, not have it shine directly in my eyeballs. So we're gonna call it good on that. Now we're gonna go over to headlights. So I've got these cheapy LED headlights because it was actually cheaper to buy a set of LED headlights than to buy one halogen for whatever reason. Probably because these are garbage. So we're just going to swap these two guys out. And as you can see, I don't have a cover for that. So I think I'm going to go try and find a takeout dish, or cut up that milk jug or that isopropyl alcohol bottle and just stick something on here. Or I'm going to go look for that plexiglass right quick, just so that I can have something over the top of these, just to keep shit from, you know, destroying these cheap plastic LEDs. So I'm gonna swap these out real quick, and then we'll see if I can figure out some sort of something to glue up on there. Alright, so I just swapped out the LED for there, and I moved the old halogen over here, and we'll just cut on the headlights. We'll see if that one's actually any brighter. I don't think it's any brighter, actually. If anything, it's probably less bright. But they're cheaper, so shit. I might actually leave one halogen in there, one LED in the other. Fuck it. We'll just put the 2 LEDs in there, and we'll cut these off before that gets hot, because I could change that out real quick. And we'll just see whether or not, you know, these LEDs suck ass or not. And if they suck ass, we'll just leave that one over there. And if they don't suck ass, we'll swap them both. So anyway, I'm gonna find a cover for that. All right, well, that's been done. And I was going to try and, you know, seal this up, and I could do that, you know, over here and on the bottom and even up here on the top, but you know, I don't think it's even worth. This whole housing is like bashed in and melted, because I think this took the brunt of an impact, and so this whole metal thing is bent, and as well as the plastic is just fucked. So I'm just gonna leave that open, because I don't feel like spray foaming that or anything. Actually, fuck it. We're gonna stick some Gorilla Tape along this seam, and when I do the construction adhesive back here, which I think I'm going to do right now, I'll squirt some of that up there on the front. So I'm going to move on to doing this real quick, and after I throw the cowl back on and glue that, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Alright, well, that's been schmooed up, so that should hopefully not fill up with corrosion and die. I spray painted the fenders with flat black, with the cheapest, flattest, blackest paint I had. And that actually blends in perfectly. Paint's not going to stick to those at all, but makes me feel better. And use like 3/4 of that brand new thing of construction adhesive, and we have just sealed up all of that edge. And yes, to believe me that those are fully stuffed. Was going to clamp them to hold them tight, but none of my clamps will reach, and I'm too lazy to go find curtain rod to use. So we're not going to do anything. And, well, I might stick a curtain rod there on the corner real quick, because I think I know where one is. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to throw the cowl back on, and we're going to get to changing the transmission fluid, because there's a filler plug there. And if we get back under here, we have a drain right down there. So, should be pretty easy to drain that. And I have one brand new gallon of high guard transmission oil, and this takes 4.7 quarts, and I bought 4, and I'm not spending $17 for 1 quart. So what we're going to do is just drain this off, and I'm going to try and keep it as clean as possible, and we're going to just pull out 3/4 of a quart and just add that old transmission fluid back in, which should be fine, and hopefully that can get the transmission to stop grinding so much. And if nothing else, it needs to be done, because it's been 24 years since the fluid's been done in this, probably. Also, I found out that this trailer hitch is kind of not really safe. Yeah, I just bent that like a ½ inch. So yeah, we're never hooking anything up to that other than to rip it off the back of the John Deere, because I don't think that thing has like more than like 50 pounds of tongue weight, because, oh fucking shit, yeah. So yeah, I don't trust that one bit. I'm actually going to take that off, because that literally just fucking bent like 2 inches. Yeah, you should not be able to to deadlift your trailer tongue. Anyway, I digress. I'm gonna throw a cowl back on, drain some fluid, and zip disc that off. Alrighty, well that's draining. She's about done. Made myself my own little drain catch there and almost cut it a bit short. And that's even with me siphoning off a quart into that isopropyl alcohol bottle, which me trying to keep all that clean and everything did a fuckload of good, because as soon as I pulled that drain plug, it just spewed out and just sprayed all over inside of that pan, picked up all the dirt, and it just went right in there. So that's great. Don't know how much is still left in there, because, you know, had to jack her up in order to drain her, because couldn't actually get a wrench on there. It's a 17 or 11/16, whatever your preference. And yeah, I think she's just about done draining now, so I'm gonna put that back in, and we're gonna dump 4 quarts of brand new High Guard in there, and then, you know, check the dipstick and add however much more of that we need to. And I mean, if we're on the dipstick with 4 quarts, I'm just gonna leave it, and I'll go see if my uncle has some High Guard lying around, and I'll steal a quart from him, pour that in there, or if not, I'll just throw this shit in there. I don't care. Well, I don't think your transmission fluid is supposed to look like burnt engine oil, but we added 4 quarts and then a whole nother quart back in there, and she's perfect on the dipstick now, about 3/4 of the way up the hash, so we're going to call that good. And we're going to shift on over to the one last thing I want to do today, and that is repair this here fender. So I'm going to attempt to cut that bucket up real quick and pop rivet that on. And then we'll try and spray paint it green, because I think I have barely enough green paint. Well, it's not going to be enough to do the whole fender, but it'll be enough to just make it slightly green. And then we'll just paint it black after that. And then I think we'll splash some of this, whatever the hell crap, ceramic coating. Just throw it up here on the bed and on the inside of the mud flaps and stuff, and just see if it does anything. Because I got 4 things of the shit, and they were $1, so why not? And I think that's it for today. Well, real quick before I do the fender, I just manhandled that off of there just with my bare hands. So that's interesting. But yeah, we'll save that. But don't got a trailer hitch now. I guess cleans up the body lines a little bit though, I think. Well, with a little bit of rivets and some washers, that's a solid fender right there. Looks like ass, but you know, that'll keep my foot out the wheel well and dirt off my face at the very least. And that came out way better than I thought it would, with not a lot of work. So I'm actually going to scuff this up with some sandpaper real quick, and then we're going to blast whatever green paint we have left on there, just to kind of just church it up just a skosh. And that'll be a brand new fender. Well, I just splashed some paint on it, and that doesn't look as good as those look, but definitely looks a lot better. I think I'm going to do another coat of paint on these, just real quick while I'm already covered in paint. And yeah, that's about all I got on my immediate list that I need to do. The only thing that I've got left is I want to do a compression test just to make sure what the compression is. Running great, so I'm not worried about it, but it was just kind of worrying to begin with how bad the compression was. But you know, cylinder was covered in crap, the rings were probably stuck, and it didn't have any oil on the cylinder walls. The other one major mechanical thing I want to do is I want to replace those tie rod end boots and these rack and pinion boots, because they're totally gone. And I already got a universal silicone rack and pinion kit in, and I ordered up some boots, but it's probably going to be a week before I get the boots in, so we'll put around and I'll find some other stuff I need to do with this thing. Oh, fix the seat. Don't know what I'm going to do about the seat yet. I'm wondering if I can just find, because this back is actually, oof, don't look at that. Semi-decent. I'm wondering if I can just find something that's roughly butt-shaped that is like, that I can drop in here, or just some like 2x4s or something. Just fill this shit up with spray foam, and then just get like a liner, drop it on there, and then drop something down on top of here that'll press it into shape and just make a little spray foam cushion or something. That's probably a terrible idea. I just need to get some like foam and just lay it in here and get some more contact adhesive and stick that in. But I need to find something to put over the top of these, and I'm not getting seat covers because these fuckers are like $40 for like one seat cover. But I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I don't think I want to do something waterproof. So we'll figure something out. We'll do 5 trash bags. We'll just cover the whole thing in trash bags. Well, my cousin came by and she lent me a can of Hunter Green with a fancy spray doohickey on it, and that actually blended in perfectly. I mean, I feathered it up here into the faded bumper. I don't know why. I don't really care. What the hell is that? Oh, well, we'll just leave those in there. And that looks almost mostly kind of unnoticeable at certain angles, like this one, where you can't see it. But that was interesting. Put another coat back on here, and I just emptied out that can and just sprayed that up in there. And probably shouldn't have done that while this stuff is still wet, but fuck it, I don't care. So yeah, we're gonna let that harden up. Probably shouldn't be painting at 5 in the afternoon when the dew's been as heavy as it is. But yeah, that's looking like something. That's about all I can say. Alright, well, I have the spark plug out, the compression tester hooked up, and I remembered a couple other things I want to do to this guy while I'm already in here. I need to pull the valve cover and set the valve lash to 5 thou, both intake and exhaust, and I need to have the spark plug out to figure out what TD set, or top dead center on the compression stroke is anyway. So might as well do that while I got the spark plug out. And additionally, that bolt or stud is snapped off for this anti-belt come off, snap, and take the back of your head off thingy doohickey. So I'm going to attempt to get on there with a big set of vice grips and gorilla that out, which is not going to work. So I'm then going to drill and attempt to bolt extractor it out, and hopefully I just rip out a big chunk of metal and don't snap the extractor off in it. Because if I snap the extractor off in it, I'm just going to cry. I don't have anything I can do. I'll just put it right back on. And if the extractor doesn't work and I just start ripping metal out, what I can do is I can actually drill into that for like, I don't know, 3/16, and then tap it, and then just run a 3/16 bolt with a bushing on it and stick the belt guard back on. But anyway, before I get too far ahead of myself, I have my foot down here holding the throttle all the way to the floor. Choke is all the way in. Let us see what kind of compression we make now. Alright. Oh, fuck. We are making, what is that? 65? 70? 67 or something PSI, which I think is probably alright. I don't know, engine runs well enough. Let's give it another go. Yeah, that's all she's gonna make is about 67. So, good enough for me. Engine runs. Ain't worried. So, I'm gonna pull this guy out of here real quick and see if we can get that valve cover off. Well, the valve cover's off, and I've got her on TDC on the compression stroke, not that you can see without flash on. And the inside of the valve cover gasket looks great. It looks like somebody schmoozed the gasket before, but we're gonna ignore that. And I'll be darned if she's not perfectly in line. So this is a 2 thou and a 3 thou stacked up because this gauge doesn't have a 5 thou for some reason on it. But as you can see, a 4 just slides in perfectly under the intake and under the exhaust. A little bit of resistance on the exhaust. And the 6, I can force it underneath the exhaust, and I can force it with a little bit less force underneath the intake. And if we take the 5 thou, goes underneath there pretty much perfectly, and perfectly under the exhaust. So the intake is like 6 thou and the exhaust is 5 thou. I'm not gonna fucking touch it. That is close enough for government work. You know, we might gain like 2 PSI or something tweaking the intake, but probably doesn't make a difference. I'm just gonna call that good, and I'm gonna stick that back on there. So that's good to know. All right, that's all back together. But bad news, that guy is not going to go quietly into the night. Vice grips, and these are good. These are name brand vintage vice grips. They made some really sparky noises, and then just took chunks out of it. So we are going to attempt to drill a hole into this hardened steel stud. That shit is probably grade 5 at the least, if not 8. And we're just going to attempt to drill an 1/8 inch hole right into the middle of it. And then we're going to step that up to about a 3/16. And that's probably, what, a 5/16 bolt. And then we're going to attempt to put a screw extractor in there and pull it out. And I can't use heat on account of the spark plug wire being right here. That's all rubber, so I can't just get on it and blast it. If this one was snapped off, I'd get on that with a MAP gas, but I don't want to have to, pull this whole engine out and disassemble all this to replace a spark plug, or a whole ignition coil, when, I could just ignore this, or just drill and tap this or something else. So that's what we're going to attempt to do. I have absolutely no idea how long this bolt is. Should probably pull that stud out to check, but we're going to assume that it's, like at least 1/2 inch down in there, and we're going to attempt to drill about 1/2 inch down in there. Not that I think I'll be able to get much further than that with my worn out drill bits. But anyway, wish me luck. Well, we went whole hog and just went straight for the 3/16, and thankfully we were able to pull that bad boy out with the screw extractor. No problem. I went down in there probably a good 5/8 of an inch at least, maybe even 3/4. But we'll get this sucker out, figure out thread pitch, and we'll just run in some piece of shit bolt in here. Anything's better than what was on there. Oh wow, I about got down to the end of it. But anywho, crisis averted. Alright, we're going to make a poor man's stud real quick. So I just rooted around in my drawer and I found some metric bolts that just happen to be twice the length, more or less. And we're just going to hack the head off of that and then chase the threads. And that'll be the top and that'll be the bottom. And we'll just run that sucker in there and just pretend it's a stud. This guy, I'm pretty sure, is grade... Well, these might be grade 5 equivalent. The big long bolt I pulled out of there that was mounted to the transaxle was a grade 8 equivalent, a 10.89, whatever its stamps is. This guy is a grade 5 equivalent because it's stamped 8.8. So that should be more than plenty. So that's what we're going to use. And we'll just thread locker it and just run that sucker home. And I just realized I got to find a fucking lock nut for that because no idea where that one went. But anyway, we're going to do that. Alrighty, well that guy's been screwed in as good as I can screw it in, and it's been Loctited as well, so we're just going to throw this sucker back on here with... Somehow managed to find 2 metric lock nuts in my big bin of nuts, so we'll just slap all that back together and call it a day. And that lock tight, whatever the hell it is, should hopefully keep that from walking out. And if it walks out, I'll just fucking weld a nut on there or something. I don't fucking know. I'll just replace it with a bolt. I don't care. Alright, well that guy's on there, and that should hopefully give a little bit more stability to the engine, because I believe that was a semi-structural part because it kind of holds the trans to the engine. But, shouldn't make that big of a difference. One thing I'm going to do before I take this thing out to test the lights and the headlights, since it's about to get dark out, moon's out, is I'm just going to spray this ceramic coating right here on this wet paint, and then go run around in sand while the stuff's still wet. Just because why not? Got tons of stuff. And we'll just see if it does anything. So we're just going to... Wow, that comes out thick. So we're just going to coat these fenders just for shits and giggles. And I feel like this shouldn't be coming out, like that. Maybe that's why these things are on clearance. But we'll see whether this does anything. That's the world's greasiest looking John Deere now. She's nice and slick. You know what? We're not going to run it tonight. I want that to set because I had to go through 2 whole bottles to coat the whole thing. So those did not go as far as I thought they would. And that one, that spray head, obliterated 10 squirts in. So that's probably why they were on clearance. But let's at least see how these guys look. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh yeah. Oh, that's pretty dang good. Might actually need another coat on them. Let's see how the headlights look. I don't know if I like that. I think they're actually darker. But to wait for it to actually be dark, I'll have to do a side by side too. So We're gonna let this guy marinate, and then we'll come back out and we'll look at these lights when it's pitch black. Alright, well, it's all spooky dark out now, so let's see how these lights look, and I'm gonna try not to touch everything. That's still pretty good. There you are. Let's see if we can get the diff lock. Oh yeah, that's incredibly tolerable. Looks a lot brighter than it actually is. And let's see about those headlights. Oh wow, that's way brighter. Damn. It doesn't throw a beam like at all, but the floodlight on that is a lot better than it was before. Probably just because there's two of them. But it seems like this one's actually throwing out a lot more, probably because, you know, it doesn't have a doohickey on it. Not bad. That'll definitely keep me from mostly running into deer. Would like them to throw a bit more of a beam, but, you know, this isn't a car. It only goes 15 miles an hour. I don't need to see that far. I can just mount a big old spotlight to it or something. So, let's cut that sucker off and call it a day. Well, we had one hell of a dew last night, but it looks like the stuff is actually doing something. So, that's interesting. Let's just... oh, got that locked. Let's just get some of this here water out of there. Man, that was just dew. Holy hell, it's humid here. And it's November. And it's like 80-something degrees out. But anyway, I digress. Good Lord. I should have probably ceramic coated the seats, but then I'd have that stuff on my butt. Yeah, cool beans. I'm going to wheel this thing out here in the yard. Just so it can drain and dry out a little bit better overnight. And then when we get home, if we get home tonight, we'll run her around. Actually, it'll probably be Monday or something. I don't know. My weekend's fucked. But yeah, ceramic coating is doing something. Can't tell you what, but it's doing something. Anyway, my brain's now running on the tailgate because I just finally remembered that I needed to do that. And I just scoured the whole garage and wood pile and everything, and I don't have any treated lumber to length. I need a 51-inch approximately piece to go all the way across through those holes. Each of those holes is just a hair over half an inch. And I'm thinking all I need to do is just get a 51-inch long 2x10, slide her in there, drill a mostly half-inch hole from either side, and just run a big-ass bolt. And then that'll give me a whole tailgate, and that's all I have to do. If I'm making it out of wood, there's no reason to do anything, you know, fancier than that. Just fucking run carriage bolts in it and call it a day. Just so long as I can back them back out, and if not, I can just wire or take a death wheel and just cut one side out, and slip the thing out, and I might just well, I don't really know. But anyway, we're just gonna do that, I think. And then hope that we get the geometry right, because otherwise we'll have to cut it apart to get it off. And yeah, I don't think I need to do anything more. If I had another one of those road marker signs, that would have been perfect. I could have just folded it basically identically to what I did, and then just drop her down in there and run a bolt through either side. And then when it drops down, that fold would actually bottom out right there on that metal, and it would stop like that. And then all I would have to do is just have some kind of little tie down up there, and it would be perfect. It would not be rigid like that up there, but you know, I could always bolt like a piece of angle iron to the back of it, or on the inside on that bottom lip. That would be really slick, but I don't have that, and I'm not gonna go get arrested stealing road signs again. That's a joke, allegedly. So yeah, I think that's all I need to do. I will need to figure out something for that latch, because it looks like the tailgate is actually structural, on account of the fact that I can literally kick that and get that to move like a half inch. Probably that was not intended. So I am going to need to figure out a latch. Not certain what I'm going to do about that yet. But we'll figure something out. If nothing else, I can just get like some kind of like hinge or something. Just get a door hinge, or well, maybe not a door. I can manhandle a door hinge to make it work, and just have some hinges on either side and cut a slot in them and just mount a D-ring up here, and then I can just run clips through either side, so I can just swoop it up, flip the hinge over onto a latch, and then just run a shackle through it. They might end up being what we're doing. I'd love to be able to utilize these guys and actually have a locking clasp, because that would really help with the structural integrity of the bed. But I don't have any locking hasps I can, you know, cobble together. So I think I'll scour Amazon to see if I can get a set of locking hasps. These guys are about an inch wide, and we can massage their geometry back to something good. And yeah, if I can do that, I would far prefer to do that. But if I'm gonna pay like $40 for a set of hasps, I ain't doing that. Not with a wooden tailgate. So we'll figure something out. But I'm gonna go look at the wood pile at work and see if there is a nice treated 2x8, 2x10, or 2x12 lying around that's just a hair over 4 foot long. And if it is, listen to that hound, just a chortling. But if I got one of those lying around, we'll be working on this tonight, because I got 1/2 inch bolts lying around, and I think, you know, 4 to 5 inches of meat inside of the wood should be more than enough to support it. Good Lord, I think she's dying. Well, we got plenty of 2x10s out here, but they're all untreated. Did find this roughly, I don't know, 5.5 foot treated 2x8 though, and I'll have to trim it a bit to get rid of some cracks, but that's a lot freer than having to buy a 2x10. So we're gonna play around with this and we'll see if we can get something to work. I was really hoping we had a couple of, like 1 5 foot of those 2x12s right there, but doesn't look like it. They're all 3 foot. So yeah, I'll poke around a little bit more, but I'm pretty certain it's all just these untreated 2x10s, and I know that they're untreated because there's mushrooms growing out of them. But anyway, freeze free. Okie dokie, I managed to get off work early, so let's see if she fires up cold, no choke, and let's take her for a spin and see if the transmission works any better. Nope, she gonna want choke. Get some choke. She's a little aggressive. All right. Let's see what this trans does. Oof. Well, she still clunks. Seems a little bit peppier. It's probably just because I don't have a lot of travel in there. Alright, try that again. Well, actually, it seems to be better. Let's see if she goes any faster. Feels faster. Let me get the GPS out, I'll report. Alrighty, well, I drove her back around and pulled up the GPS, and she's still going 12.5 miles an hour. She is not any faster, just a little bit peppier on the low end, so I might have to fiddle with the carburetor tune and the governor a little bit. Well, probably just need a new carburetor, because she's probably not getting, you know, full flow on account of probably there's tons of shit in the carburetor. But anyway, I digress. Still runs just fine at the moment. So anyway, I'm back onto the tailgate, and I think we're just going to slap this bad boy on here. I just grabbed this 2x8. I grabbed the router, routed these corners like so, and that hopefully has enough clearance. Probably won't. I'll probably have to pull it back out and just fucking hack on it with a hatchet. I don't really care at this point, but I've already threaded this for these big old 1/2 inch lag bolts, and not lag bolts, carriage bolts, and I'm just gonna run those in here, and just a little bit at first to make sure I've got the rotational clearance, and if we do, then run them on in, and if I don't, hack on it with a hacksaw, or I'll probably just grab the oscillating sander and just take a little bit of meat off of there. Call it a day. Alright, well, we made a miscalculation, so I'm going to have to cut that much material, about 1/4 inch, off of the outside of here, from there all the way down to here and around into this corner down here. So I had a lot of chiseling to do. I'm not looking forward to it, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, well, after much chiseling and trimming and screaming and cussing and sweating profusely, that's in, and it is subpar at best. Holds up great, but it only goes down that far, and it's splitting the wood on both sides. So we're going to ignore that, and yeah, I'm not going to trim this to fold down flat. I really wanted it to do that, but I'm going to have to remove too much metal. I'm going to have to upgrade this with something steel eventually. But in the interim, we're going to upgrade this, or we're going to finish this out with the tried and true hinge and D-ring with a shackle method. In which case, I'm going to mount a hinge right here that flops all the way over to the front of this, and then there's going to be a D-ring right here, and I'll run a shackle through it, and that'll keep it from going any further than that. And additionally, because this is about to blow out, I need something to hold this up. So I'm going to attempt to make some wire or chain stops, probably chain stops, and just run a chain through here, probably underneath like the D-ring or something like that, or probably up like this, and then back over here, and then run a bolt through one of these holes up in here, probably this one, and just have it so it stops right about there, just a little bit short of going all the way down, so that all the pressure is on that chain rather than there on that hinge. So I think I should have enough chain for that, and I should be able to fabric cobble something together to get that nice and taut. And I think I have at least one hinge and D-ring, so I'm going to go scrounge around and see what I can do. Alright, well, after another hour or so of manhandling, we've got something that's pretty good, and that's pretty damn solid. Solid enough for me. It's at the point now where I can lift the bed off of it, and I don't think that's probably maybe going to break. And that should be solid. And I'm actually even going to splash some paint on it, just for shits and giggles. And yeah, here's my setup. Just have a chain right here, run to the front. Have a big lag screw run through that end of the chain, and so it just pulls down. And then there was handy dandily a slot right there, so I just ran a bolt through there to keep it from going back through. And we're just going to apply a little bit of nature's Loctite to it, and keep that from walking out. Do the same over here, same story. Ooh, blood blister. That's gonna hurt. Oh yeah, never fun. But anywho, for the actual locking, chain is not the ideal thing here, but you can get the stupid fucking chain out of your goddamn way. God, I'm gonna fucking regret this. But anyway, it was free. Just do that. And thankfully I had some D-ring shackles that I found lying in the road, and I've been saving for just such an occasion. Just lock that like that. And this guy like that. There you go. Bob's your uncle. Bam! And so this will just, dirty dangle over here and rattle and shake and let everyone in the neighborhood know I'm coming. Well, I mean, the fucking single-stroke engine with a rusted-out muffler will do that. But, yeah, it's not even that rattly. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty good solution. And in order to put the D-rings up, when you got the tailgate down, you can just run them right through one of these links, I think, maybe. Probably it'll fit. I'll stick them somewhere. And, yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to spray some paint on it after I do just a tiny modicum of sanding. Not a lot. I'm not going to get crazy, but I just want to take that layer of mildew off before I throw paint on it, because what's the point of painting it if the mildew is just going to go through it? So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go to bed, because I can get up in the morning. And with a flick of my wrist, she's green. It's not perfectly green, and I splashed some green down there too, just because I had just a little bit of dregs in the can and I was already done. But this should be a green tailgate. And we'll let that dry overnight, and then I'll spray some ceramic coating on top of that as well, and we'll huck her up in there. And then it's tie rod boots and inner racket pinion boots, because I just got the tie rod boots in. So we'll do that sometime between now and the end of the weekend. Alrighty, now that is a tailgate. That paint is not going to last at all, but it makes me feel a little bit better, kind of. Very thin. Needs to have been primed, but it sure as hell did not get that. So, I think what's going to be next is I'm going to swing this guy around and pull her up partway in here behind the Corvette and work on the tie rods and the rack and pinion boots. Because it's supposed to be a tropical storm coming through, and I'm going to be off on Friday right in the middle of it. So, unless we've got a driving wind coming from that direction, which I think based on the track, we're not. I think the wind's going to mostly do one of these. So I think we should be good until the end of the day on Friday. And I can just swoosh her on up in here and work on the rack and pinion down there in the not rain. And get that done, hopefully. If not Friday, on Saturday. And then after that, I think I'm just going to monkey with the tune on the carburetor. I can pull the throttle closed and kill the engine. So I feel like I need to richen up the idle mixture a little bit. And maybe adjust that the bottom adjustment for the throttle, and maybe screw with that adjustment knob down there for the throttle. I think I might need to actually bring that out a little bit, because I think I'm putting too much tension on the throttle. And just see if we can get a little bit more oomph out of her and get a little bit more of a stable idle out, because I think my butterfly valve for the throttle is closing a little too much, and I need to raise the idle speed. And I think that's probably what most of the surging is, but we'll see. We'll wait until it's like a really weird temperature to do it, and just screw everything up. But yeah, that's really about it that there is to do, far as I know, in the immediate future. And then we'll just wait on that tire to blow up, and then we'll do that too. Look at that water beating up. Look at that tailgate. Alright, so I've been doing some research on, mostly on how to adjust the carburetor. I think I've got it figured out now. But in the process, I discovered a couple of things. One, my grinding gears seems to be related to too high of an engine idle, which I was already planning to fix with the carburetor adjustment, so that's great. That'll solve that problem. If the carburetor, or if the engine idle is too high, the clutch is engaged, and then when you try and shift gears, you clatter because you've got the main shaft free spinning at idle, and so the shit just like slams into gear. So I'm probably idling somewhere around 1400, 1300 RPM, and it should be somewhere between 1100 and 1000. So I'm hoping that messing with the idle is going to drop that down, and then I won't be grinding gears anymore. Additionally, the brakes screech like a fucking banshee. And apparently that's because it's just an innate flaw with this wet clutch system, and John Deere actually developed a friction modifying additive that you're supposed to put in there to make it stop doing that. But it's like fucking $33 a bottle for 12 ounces. And for comparison, it's like $34 a gallon for transmission fluid, and I didn't buy a second gallon, so there's no way I'm spending $30 on an additive when I've got old fluid in there. So I also read that automatic transmission fixes, as well as posse traction additives, because posse traction is just a wet clutch system, will also work. So I've actually got 10 ounces of TransX transmission tune-up, which I'm going to try not to use because it's a solvent-based additive. But we have that if we need it. And TransX PosiTrack additive, which I just added to yonder Corvette. We also actually have a vintage bottle of Posi Traction additive, which I'm not going to use because I'm saving it because it looks cool. But I think I have about 2 ounces of this left. And apparently 7 ounces will treat 4 quarts, and there's 5 quarts in there, so a third of that should do nothing. But anyway, we'll see. We'll throw it in there. I've got no other use for it. Don't have enough to treat another diff. Don't have another Posi Traction. I've got a Eaton torsional locker. But anyway, so we'll put that in, and then we'll put that in. And if that does nothing, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Apparently Lucas transmission fix also works really well, so we'll just go out and we'll buy that, and then we'll just add that into it and try not to overfill the transmission. Additionally, try not to add all of it. And if that doesn't do anything, then maybe some point down the road I'll drain the entire transaxle, put a full fresh thing of trans fluid in it, and then actually add the John Deere, or then add that Lucas additive or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. The squeaky brakes don't really bother me that much, but if I can fix it for free, I'll do it. So I'm going to throw that in the transaxle, and apparently this stuff takes a while to take effect, so we'll just have to add it, run the transmission around, let it sit, and yeah, we got a hurricane coming through, but I've got the weekend off and it should only blow through here for a day. So I think I'll try and add that here right quick, and then we'll see if it does anything by the time I fire this bad boy back up, and if it doesn't, then we'll add that, and that will probably overfill the transaxle, but who cares? So yeah, let's get to it. All right, drinky. A little bit more than I thought. That's probably close to 3. I don't know how much air was in this to begin with, but it clears up the space on the shelf if nothing else, and we'll see if that does anything to it. And it'll take a while, so if you hear brakes screeching in the next couple of scenes, don't worry about it until I come out and say otherwise. But I think during this hurricane we're not going to tune the carburetor because I have to have the engine warm, but this thing does not have a high-speed mixture, so it's just moving these nuts around to apparently adjust, moving them nuts around to adjust the idle, because at the moment, well, I got to do something about this governor, because this governor's sticky. I don't know how easily I can get that plate off. Maybe, I think it may just be that, and maybe one more bolt. No, that just holds that. So maybe I can get this off and I can play around with the shaft on the governor, but the governor seems to be sticking, so I can't really adjust it all that well, but I feel like it should be sitting here. I think I need to adjust one of these screws down in here or something for the idle. Additionally, I feel like that throttle pedal, it's going to stop under it, and I think that I'm actually putting way too much tension on there, so we'll probably have to play with that, because I just don't want to, jam the throttle open or anything like that, because that's probably screwing with the governor, making it aggressive. Additionally, if I come in here with the engine's running and I do this, the whole thing dies, so I need to fix that idle adjustment screw to set the idle. So what I need to do is tune this low-end mixture screw, this guy right here, I believe. Something somewhere, one of those two down in here, not certain which, is the low-end mixture screw. John Deere makes it so you have to buy their manuals to work on their own damn vehicles. It's such an anti-consumer practice. John Deere is just anti-consumer, I'll be frank. But anyway, might be able to find something from Kawasaki on how to tune that, but I gotta figure out which one of these is the low-end mixture screw. I don't know what that guy is, but anyway, just suffice it to say, it's a little bit of an odd duck, and I can really only play with the low end. I believe it's a fixed jet, fixed emulsion tube, so it's just the total vacuum that you're able to pull through that venturi is what determines your high-end RPM, and I'm not going to screw with that, and I'm not going to screw with the governor other than trying to smooth it out, because I don't want this thing to grenade. I'm not trying to make a super speed machine, but I'm getting 12.5 miles an hour, and the thing's supposed to make 15.5, and I want my 20% extra speed. So we're going to fiddle with this thing to see if we can get the gears to quit chattering by slowing down this idle, get this stop adjusted correctly so that I can't just walk in here and kill the engine by moving the throttle. You should never be able to do that. And yeah, just generally fiddle with that. All right, hurricane's gone. It was pretty uneventful. And I got to go help my cousin move a couch. So we are going to fire this sucker up and just try and work in that transmission additive, and we'll see if the braking's any better by the time I get back. Then we'll work on the tie rod ends and boots and racks and all that stuff. But we're also going to have to reattach these, because this guy is getting dangerously close down here, and I'm about 68.25% chance that that's going to come off driving over to the cousin's house and to the Deere feeder to load it back up. So yeah, we're gonna have to pop rivet that, and I don't care anymore. We're just gonna run them right in there. It don't matter. All right, well, she still squeaks while braking, but she squeaks less. So I think a little bit more posi traction additive should do it. I'm gonna attempt to fiddle with the idle now, because that's way too fast for idle. Yeah, that's like 1600 RPM. That's supposed to be like 11 or just 1,000. So I'm not really quite sure which is the low end mixture screw. I'm gonna assume it's that guy right there, because it doesn't look like a high end. I don't think there is a high end on here, so I'm just gonna touch that a little bit, see if it changes things, and then we're gonna adjust the stop, because at the moment, yeah, she's not getting enough fuel at idle, which is causing the governor to do something, and I might need to change that throttle back to that inner hole again. We'll see. But something is not quite right. Wow. Yeah, because she just dies if you push that throttle in too far. So yeah, let me fire her back up, and I'm going to fiddle around with here and see if I can get this nice and dialed in. Okay, well, we're starting to enter debacle city. The low-end mixture screw is mostly seized. I got it to turn just a little bit, and then I snapped an ear off of here. So I'm going to cut this protective wing off so that I can get on this with pliers, and then come back in here and recut this so that I can turn it with a screwdriver. Alright, well, things are not going as well as they should have. I cut this whole guard off, and then I cut a little bit of a slot in there, and then before I could even put the screwdriver in it, this whole brass rod just snapped off the top. So we've been mangling on that with just with a pair of pliers, and I got it to bottom, and then I turned it out 1 3/8, which is what the instructions I found online that I'm not confident are for this exact carburetor told me to do. And we're going to throw it back on there and see if hopefully maybe we can get these guys back on there enough that we can still attempt to adjust this. But I don't want to go too much further because this thing is just a cunt hair away from blowing out. But yeah, we're going to have to buy a new carburetor. Probably. If by some, maybe, just maybe the grace of God will let me get this adjusted, and then I'll never touch it again in my entire life, but probably just gonna buy a new carburetor. Well, I diddled with her, and I got the idle down to something a little bit more tame, but I can't really make it any slower. It just doesn't want to go any lower, so I don't really know what to do, but it grinds a little bit less going into gear, and my top speed is now 13.5, so I gained 1 mile per hour, and the idle is simmered down a little bit. It's still higher than I want. It's still like 1200, but it's close enough. If I lift up on the throttle, or the accelerator pedal, she tames down actually, about to how I want her. So I think it's mostly just a sticky cable and stinky linkages and a sticky/stinky governor. But that's about as good as I can do. And I can hold the throttle now and it doesn't die. So it's just got that little bit of play in it, but if I adjust that out anymore, it goes up to like 1400 RPM. But yeah, governor is doing nothing at idle, so that's good. Throttle's still great. She's got a lot of oomph at low end, but then the governor gets in there and just woes her. I moved this spring back out, and that seems to have helped a fair bit. And yeah, I'm not gonna touch this anymore because I'm probably gonna make things worse. But yeah, she goes. It's not supposed to idle that high because of the governor, but you know. Got top end, it's just something screwy with the fuel delivery, and I can't really make it any better. And that's on its last legs, so we're not going to monkey with it anymore. We're just going to leave it as is and call it good, unless I buy another carburetor. Then we'll try and actually dial it in. Let's see if she still starts. Good. But yeah, we're done with that. And I guess we're going to work on tie rod boots now. Alright, well, it's 4 o'clock and it's raining now, so I can't finish working in the garden. But I can come over here and start drinking and start working on tie rod boots and the rack and pinion. And I already came in here, and a 7/8 for the jam nut, 3/4 for the tie rod, and I got them all free with just arm torque. I don't think anything had more than 50 foot-pounds on it. So yeah, it's not even gonna fight me. I didn't even have to bust out the China torque, but well, I did bust it out because I'm gonna use it to just pull those things off. And we're gonna pickle fork our tie rods off, try not to break them. And I've just got these generic boots I bought because they were the cheapest ones on Amazon. I have no idea what size these are supposed to be, but that looks like it might maybe fit. So we'll see, or we'll just save whatever's on there, whatever I think is most convenient. And we got this universal rack and pinion boot kit, which should probably fit. One side is longer than the other one. I don't know why that is. I don't think it needs to be. So we're just gonna use that and then hope for the best. That's been done. New boots are on. And those tie rod and boots were definitely not the right size. So what I did is when I trimmed that boot to fit over there onto the rack and pinion, I just took that rubber part and jammed on top of it, and that made the seal a little bit better, and it's still kind of horrible. It's basically like 50% better than it was before. And then I did the same thing over here, and then it turns out the rack and pinion's actually smaller over here, so I cut the boot too small, so that just meant that I really torqued down on that middle zip tie. And it'll stay on, and if it doesn't, it'll stay on. And we'll forget about it, but that should be done. No real improvement here, just a longevity thing. That ball joint is just about gone, and that one's a little bit too tight, but it's still tight. That one very loosey-goosey. Had to hammer the thing into place so I could actually get the nut to torque because it was just freewheeling in there. But yeah, still turns. No slop in the steering wheel. Hopefully I didn't fuck up the alignment. Well, it wasn't aligned anyway, but hopefully it doesn't, zig and zag all over the place. Alright, this tire is getting really bad, and I don't trust it. I don't want to ruin a perfectly good tube. So I've got an idea, and it's not buying a new tire, because I'm broke as hell again, because I just dropped like $1,000 on a bunch of shit that I needed to buy. That is not for this derelict Gator. Let me go show you what I'm brainstorming on. Okay, well, I dorked up my back, so I'm not working on that tire because trying to pop that off the bead is going to just dork up my back again. So we'll get back to this in a couple weeks whenever I'm not having a herniated disc or whatever the hell's going on. And we're going to try and focus on the seats. And one thing real quick I did is I made a battery cover tray because I don't like how when I leave the seats up to keep water out the seats, it just rains straight on top of the battery. So we just jammed another piece of bucket up underneath there. And so that'll direct all that water off of the top of the battery and the battery contacts. And that should hopefully stay there, maybe, for the most part. It's wedged up underneath here, so when you're sitting on it, it ain't going anywhere. So, yeah, quick fix. It's done. And I'm going to go try and find an old office seat or something that I can just, like, hack apart and pull the foam out of and just lay it in there. And we'll just contact adhesive it. And I think I'm just going to buy, like, I don't know, 20 rolls of all-weather Gorilla Tape. And we're just going to wrap the whole bottom of the seat and then do a couple passes across the back, and we'll just do a couple safety passes over there, and I'm going to try and pleat it and leave some slop in there just so that it flexes and doesn't like pull apart, and that'll do something because I'm not paying $180 for a new set of seats. Good lord, no. All right, if the audio and the video looks a little different, it's because I got a new phone, and hopefully it should be better, but it's probably just going to be weird because I'm still trying to figure out how to properly edit it. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to start working on some of the smaller stuff. I went and bought some tape, so I should be able, if I can find an old car seat or an old office seat or something that just has some heavy duty, like inch thick foam, and glue that on there, tape it in place, and that'll be good. And I'll put a couple wraps of tape on here just to help that vinyl since it's starting to go. Just came in here and put a bungee cord on the handle down here to the latch. Just because that latch doesn't want to stay latched, and that's a safety hazard. Don't want one, crap spilling out the back or tailgate falling out while I'm driving around. Two, if I'm standing in the back, I don't want the thing to suddenly tip. And yeah, I'm going to try and find a slab of steel, some angle iron or something that I can use for a trailer hitch. I need a 5 by 3 inch plate. Well, I guess it could be longer for some added leverage. That'll fit those holes, and then if I can find something that's got a piece of angle iron or a tube or a square tube coming out that center spot right there, that would be perfect. Like if I can find like a footer off of something, like an 1/8 or 3/16 steel like footer, I can drill some holes through it, and I can make a trailer ball fit on that. I can't weld, but I can cut shit up and drill holes in things like nobody else. So I'm going to hopefully be able to find something like that lying around somewhere in my uncle's scrap pile. Speaking of that, talk to him. He doesn't have any like thin wall off-road tires lying around that I can cut up, but he does have like some 8-inch irrigation tubing that's like rubberized, canvas. So I'm hoping, he's got a section cut for me that I can have, and I'm hoping I can deflate that tube as far as it'll go, hook up the vacuum pump, suck the thing all the way down, break the bead off, get a piece, shove it up in there, cover it in rubber cement. I bought some Slime brand rubber cement, pull it, reach my hand in there and stick it on up as far as I can, re-inflate the tube, get that set, and then re-inflate the tube to reset that bead. And I'll clean and grease that bead while I'm in there just so I can hopefully be able to get it to fully seat without blowing up the tire anymore. And yeah, that should hopefully be the end of it. My back's better, so I can probably work on that this weekend. I got a long weekend for Thanksgiving, so I've been taking it easy for like 2 weeks, and my back is mostly there. Now it's just sciatica. But anyway, I'm going to try and fix the cup holder too. I think I've got some koozies that I can just like cut up and just like jam in there, just so that it's like a foam spring in there. I think I'm going to get rid of that metal spring that I had. It's not working. Might just remake that whole thing out of 3-inch pipe as well, since I'm not going to need my water bottle to fit in there. So anyway, we'll look at that. Be nice to be able to fit a Foster scan, but I don't know. Probably just going to remake it out of 3-inch PVC. So anyway, we'll see. All right, one other quick upgrade I just made. is I came in here and I pop riveted these guys to the bottom of the deck, and I only poked through right there, so I call that pretty good. That didn't really actually get under, so good deal. All the other rivets are underneath the actual deck that I added, so that's nice. Those should hopefully stay on. I just let some air out of the rear tires and got them down so that they're all the tread is touching, because I noticed I had rub marks on this and I really didn't want that to hit something else and pop, so that's mostly hidden down in there now. Just barely has enough air in it, but that'll buy me time until I can get some rubber to do that. All right, so I remember where I had some foam. I had this stashed away to line gun cases, but I don't think I'm ever going to use it for that. So perfect solution. I just took one piece and I am going to basically fold this over like that, spray adhesive it to itself, let it cure, and then I'm going to take this while I'm doing that, flip it upside down, and glue that right here into this low spot under the butt, and then that folded piece will go right here, and then I'll spray foam all of that over there, and then I'm going to take Gorilla Tape and I'm just going to wrap the entire seat the whole way around and just gradually build layers and form a skin. And I'm going to try and leave like pleats, like folds over here, so that when you sit on it, it doesn't just like rip the tape. But we shall see. That is my intended plan. So I'm going to get to gluing that, and then I'll put down a couple layers of tape, and I think I'll probably, once I get this glued, come in here and pull this off the seat, although I'm a little worried to take those off, because I don't know, don't go back on. I think I'm supposed to be able to pop this off, but I'm not doing that. But anywho, that's the plan. We shall see. If there's a way I can actually pop this off, that would be cool. Because then I could do this and then just stick the seat right back in there. But anyway, I'm not going to do that. We're just going to wrap it in tape and pray for the best. So I'm going to do that. All right, well, that's glued. And holy shit, does this fucking Loctite bottle suck. Oh my God. Buy the damn 3M. Good gravy. I didn't have a single issue with the 2 cans of that I used, but this one, I used it once before. I went to use it again, and the nozzle was plugged. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I pulled the nozzle off, blew some mass airflow sensor cleaner through it, cleared it perfectly, came back in here, went to reseat the thing. Of course, there's a fucking O-ring in the top of that can that seals that spray head to the can. And as soon as of course, the actual nozzle itself is split and not chamfered. So I shoved it in there and it just cut the O-ring. So it's just been bleeding out the side of this. The stuff glues, but holy shit, does it glue. I've got fucking sycamore leaves glued to the bottom of my feet. There's just big fat glods of shit everywhere. I used 5 times more than I needed to. I've already washed my hands 4 times and I can't get this shit off. I'm holding my phone right now with a fucking shop towel to keep it off of my phone. And yeah, we're gonna let that dry for like the entire afternoon, and then we're gonna come back and wrap it in tape. Holy shit. Okay, paint thinner got rid of the contact adhesive, well, most of it. And yeah, I just threw a trash can lid on there and 2 cinder blocks, and that should hopefully help that adhere a little bit better. Not that it matters because it's gonna be wrapped in tape, but I'm just gonna let that cure all afternoon and then come back and then wrap it before it rains, dews, whatever it does at night, or it gets all wet. And I guess we'll pry that off with a crowbar or something later once it's done curing. All right, so I just helped my aunt put together a trundle bed and exchange. I'm coming over here to my uncle's shop, grandfather's shop, family shop, and I just found this basically trailer jack, whatever you want to call it, doohickey thing, and I think that's the perfect size to make a trailer hitch out of. So I'm fixing to just basically stick this all the way out, cut that off the bottom, and run a hole through it. Stick some bar stock in it or something, just for support, and that should be good. And I just found this giant tractor inner tube just jammed over here, and I'm fixing to cut me a big chunk of that, and that should fix my tire perfectly. Oh, the junk pile taketh, and the junk pile provideth. All right, so hopefully today we're going to get this tire patched, get the tire with enough meat on it to keep the inner tube from poking through. And I'm hoping I can just, maybe cut this in half and just jam it up in there and just dump some rubber cement in there and just stick it on there after I clean that. Hardest part's going to be getting the tube deflated and this off the bead. I'm hoping, where's that? Okay, I'm lucky enough that the valve stem's over there, so I may not actually have to take it off the valve stem, which would be nice. And yeah, I'll just generally try and get this thing off of here, clean up the bead, get that patch under there, and just get that fixed and done with. I'm also going to tape up the seat. Adhesive has taken very well. It's supposed to rain today, so I've got the thing kind of pulled into the garage. That's good enough. So we're just going to do just some overlapping wraps of Gorilla Tape. I was going to take this thing off and wrap it, but these screws are not captive, and I have to take this rubber thing off to be able to access those screws, and I am not going to do that because it's going to break. So yeah, we're just going to go right around this whole thing and pray that the Gorilla Tape holds. Doesn't need to do nothing crazy, but I'm going to try and like leave like some pleats in here so that when you squish, you know, it has some flex to it, but we'll see. That's the general plan on that front. And then additionally, we're going to try and upgrade the beer holder with 3-inch piece pipe, and I'm going to attempt to make a trailer hitch because I got this guy and this pivot's broken, so there's not really an easy way to mount this thing. The only way you can mount it is flush. Will you hush? So doesn't really have too much value in its current condition, but my plan is to basically cut this off at 9 inches. I'm hoping this stuff is like, if this was like 1/4 inch thick pipe, that would be perfect, because I don't actually think I would need to do much. My plan is if I get in here and this is like 1/8 inch pipe or something skinny, I'm going to like take the angle grinder and just cut out a perfectly sized coupon down this thing. Just basically cut this entire thing long like that and then jam it in there. And I'm hoping I've got a 3/4 inch carbide drill bit somewhere. I may not, in which case we may get creative. I may have to come in here with the angle grinder and like cut like slots and then like drill the thing out and like try and do something with it. We'll get a hole in there. But yeah, I think if I can heat this thing up and beat on it, it'll be just enough clearance for this guy to go all the way through. And I don't need it to move much, just need it to like squish in about 1/4 inch, and we should be able to get that clear. Can't weld, so there's that. But yeah, push comes to shove, I can always, you know, oh, and this, it's going to be mounted like this, so this will be the top. I can come in here and just like cut like the bottom half off and then jam something in there as support and then clamp it down in there. I would like to at least, like this is a 1 1/4, which if this is 1/8 inch walls should be the minimum that'll fit in here because this is 1 1/2 inch. But like jam that down in there just to add some rigidity, but we probably won't need to. This is not going to have to hold up anything more than about 500 pounds. The towing capacity on this thing is like 750, and I don't really trust the frame to do much more, so this just needs to be able to basically hold 500 pounds of dead weight. So if I can jump up and down on it and it doesn't bend, then it's good. And I think 1/4 inch steel should be more than sufficient for that. It's not going to be, I just want to be able to pull a little cart behind me and load like some logs or some moss or something on it or something. Anyway, or at least pull my boats around the yard or something like that. I don't know. I digress. But we're going to try and adapt this. And I'm hoping I can save enough meat out here that I can like jam another pipe in here and continue and reuse this and repurpose it for something else, because I can just jam a pipe down in there with something on the end of it and it'll still act as a foot. I'm hoping that the guide for that thing right there is up here at the top that this channel is for, so that if I suck it up in there it doesn't start spinning, because that would be a pain in the ass. But I don't know. I don't care. But yeah, we're going to try and at least save that, repurpose it, because that's who I am. But that's the general plan. Hopefully I can get this thing done today so I can mark it off the list. Just the whole thing off the list. All right, so that looks fucking terrible, but it works great. And I also taped over the front end of this, and I've drilled drain holes down in the bottom of each corner of all of these, because they don't have drain holes. If we get water in the foam, it has nowhere to go. So anyway, that's exciting. Seat works great, feels fine, holds a butt. Yeah, that'll work. Looks terrible. Don't know how long that'll last, but that's a future me problem. Anyway, let's move on to the tire now. All right, so that actually didn't fight me at all. I brought all this shit out and I didn't even have to set it up. I just leaned on the thing until all the air was out, and then I just pressed on the bead came off. And then I put 10 PSI in it, and the thing came back up. Or before I did that, I just basically shoved my hand through here, shoved the patch in, pulled it back the other way, folded it underneath the edge of the tube, and just inflated it. And then I just poured rubber cement straight through the crack and filled it up to 7 PSI. Then let it back down to 6 PSI, and just letting it marinate. I'm going to go find a cinder block or something to place on top of this just to try and keep the rubber cement in contact with the tire, but that should be it. That worked like a damn charm. So yeah, I guess I'll move on to the beer holder, and then we'll tackle the trailer hitch later this afternoon. But it's starting to rain, and I need to go pick radishes, so I'm going to do that while this cures. That's a lot of sweet potatoes for one pot. All right, that's been curing for 3 hours now, and I finished the cup holder, and I think it may just be perfect. Ow. So I took a 3-inch pipe, and I basically just had this 3-inch piece of steel and a 3-inch, it was like a rubber plug, and I just stuffed the rubber plug in the bottom and then stuck that 3-inch steel plate on it, and that plate just barely touches the rubber bottom. Then I took a hose clamp and I cut a slot in the back, and threaded that hose clamp through. I found the hose clamp in the middle of a field too, so really upcycling here. And then I took a beer koozie, cut a slot on one side, cut the seam down on the other side, folded it over on the back, ran the hose clamp through it, and then I flared it out like this, and then took contact adhesive and glued it like that. So now it perfectly fits a beer, and this thing is absolutely rock solid. So, hate that shit. Yeah, I think that should be an ideal beer holder. Let me get a bottle and see how well that works. Here, let's try a Stella. They have little tiny skinny bottles. Not ideal. Good enough. Oh, this is either going to be very straightforward or a complete pain in the ass. I've already marked out the drill points all in the back of this. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut it here. If I'm lucky, this son of a bitch is like 1/4-inch steel. It feels at least 1/8 inch, if not more. If it's 1/4-inch steel, actually, it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. If it's 1/4-inch steel, I don't have to add any extra meat into it. I can pretty much just cut a hole through it, clamp down the nut, and call it a day. But if it's 1/8 inch, I got to add some more meat into it. So I got to take this thing and drill a 3/4-inch hole through it, which I am not looking forward to. I don't have any carbide tip 3/4-inch bits. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I guess I could drill a smaller hole and then work on it with a file for 14 hours, but I would rather not do that. I guess what I can do as well is cut that guy out and then just cut that like this, and then just slide that whole thing down into there and then drill through it. That'll give it a little bit more support, and I'm going to heat that up as hot as I can with the MAP gas and then try and beat the tip like the last 2-3 inches flat so that, it'll support that. I would rather not do that because it'll tend to bend, but again, we're not going to be putting mammoth weight on this. It just needs to hold up 500 pounds. So anyway, we shall get to that, and hopefully it shouldn't be a massive undertaking. What's he doing? Huh? Is he eating all your acorns? Oh, he is. Little raccoon. He's eating all your acorns. It's tragic. All right, well, with basically no fight, took me an hour. There we go. All I did was just heated this up until it started glowing just about orange with MAP gas. Well, actually, first I put it in the big vise. I love having this big vise. And just kind of squeezed it down until it had about a 3/4-inch gap in it. Then took it outside, heated it up till on both sides until it was dull red all the way across and just about orange in the center. And then just smack that son of a bitch flat with a 3-pound hammer. Just squish the last 2 inches so that they were touching. Let it cool down until it was no longer glowing, then just quenched it and just let it air cool for a bit. And then I came in here and broke one 3/4 inch hole saw, went to a different 3/4 inch hole saw, which cut with no problem. Just drilled right through there, not an issue at all, and then came through here and drilled through this 3/16 plate. Had to incrementally go up in drill bits, more than I've ever had to do for any other thing. I was like going up by a 1/16 of an inch all the way up through there, and then went and found these grade 8, like 1-inch bolts, like short head. I don't know what these were for like a something, I don't know, engine manifold or something stupid. And then went and dug around in the big old bolt bin and managed to find one lug bolt and three other bolts that fit these fine thread grade 8s. Threw a big fat lock washer on there, and yeah, I already checked it. Hole pattern matches up. I didn't fuck it up, and I'm just gonna go torque these suckers on here and then jump around on it and see if it bends. All right, we've pushed her out, and as you can see, the patch tire is on. There's the patch. It's patching. Still not fully cured yet, but it's pretty dang good. It's better than what it was. Well, maybe we wouldn't go so far as pretty dang good. And there's a trailer hitch. That came out really well. It's more or less straight. It's on there well. And, it's not budging. If anything, it's going to start bending that back rail. So that's stronger than what was on there for sure. And I'm not worried about that at all. Yeah. That is more or less everything I need to do to this thing. Or at least everything I'm going to do to it. That I plan to do to it. She runs perfectly reliably. She fires up. Let's just crank her up just to show you. You can't ask for a more reliable engine than that. Holy shit. Barely even gets one rotation before she touches off. Yeah, that's all I plan to do to this thing. I think I might maybe add a bumper in the future, but I don't really have any plans to do that right now. It would interfere with my ground clearance. I just want something that'll, keep me from running the plastic into something. We shall see. All right, so my sister bought a house, and it came with a jungle gym swing set setup thingy that was totally rotten, and she didn't have any kids. So she told me to come get the damn thing out of her yard because it was taking up too much of the yard, which I obliged because I thought the thing was made of treated lumber. It's not. It's all untreated. Who makes a jungle gym and sells it into Charleston that's untreated? And I thought, 4x4s would be good at the very least. They're not even 4x4s. They're fucking like laminated 3x1s. Look at that shit. Grown zone. Anywho, I'm probably gonna make planter boxes and maybe a firewood rack out of it. Planter boxes will last a year and grow sweet potatoes in them or something. But anyway, but it also came with a bunch of John Deere green and yellow colored plastic and metal. So you know what that means? Hood ornament. Yeah. So that chrysanthemum thing is free spinning and full of sand. So it provides a great distraction when you're bored somewhere. But it's held in with, I think I found an old 1970s dimmer switch knob, a shock mount off of the Mercedes, hubcap off of a Dodge Ram I found on the side of the road. Drilled a 3/8 hole through the hubcap and the potentiometer knob, and then ran a bolt through it, stuck the potentiometer knob, which was the exact size of this hole down in there, that if you recall was just in the middle of the grill, and then stuck the ram cap on there, and then stuck the rubber shock mount on there with the big metal washer that came with the shock mount. Ran a bolt home, and it was all just the perfect size. So that's nice. And additionally, I'm gonna make a bumper. I said I was going to do one if the universe decided it was going to provide me with the materials, and it did. So I got these 90-degree green angle brackets that are 1/8 inch steel, and they look to have a 7/16 hole drilled in them. And this looks to have a 1/2 inch hole already drilled in it. So I'm thinking do one of these, or one of these probably. Something, we'll figure it out, however it fits. But just kind of smack this guy down on here like that on either side. And then I've got these pieces of 3-inch square tube that are what the center columns of the garage are. they're just lying around. So I've got about a 7-inch piece and about a 5-inch piece. So I'm thinking cut these both even and flush because they're kind of just willy-nilly. Maybe down to about 4 inches. Stick them on there, drill a bolt through the side of them, and just do one over here and one over here, and then maybe put a cross brace between the two. Probably don't need to do that. I might, I don't know. Just depends on whether I'm feeling froggy or not. And then take one or both of these guys and just take another bracket or just another chunk of steel or something, or maybe I might cut these long and just leave like an inch hanging out on one side and then fold that over so I can just drill straight through it. But just have this guy on there, like so, and I can even leave these things, actually. And so that'll stick out about here to here, so clears the wheelbase, comes out this far, and prevents me from running into trees and stuff. If I mount it right, it'll bend up rather than down, and that'll also give me a tow point that I can tow from the front of this thing. So yeah, that could be exciting. So that's my current plan, and I'm going to try and whip something up real quick. All right, well that took way too much effort, but there she is. It's a bumper. It's stout enough that I can, jump up and down on it, but it does kind of flop around a little bit. Doesn't really matter, it's a bumper, it's supposed to bend. That's shock absorption. We'll just say it's that and call it good. But anyway, that should at least keep me from running into anything and breaking the plastic again. And the little sunflower thing is just for style points. I'll splash that with some paint if I ever buy any paint, probably won't. But yeah, I'm done with it now. That's it. That was the last thing I was thinking about. That didn't really come out how I wanted it, but it's on there now and I'm not taking it off. If you like crap like this, consider liking the video. Comment, tell me what other crap I could do to this thing, and maybe I'll make another episode. And if you want to see that episode, you gotta subscribe, so smash the big red button. Until next time, I'm out.